So recently I went to my first convention, and not as a customer, but as a vendor. You guys don't want to miss this one. So there's a lot of information about how to get a vendor slot at a convention. So it's so much information that it almost looks like it's like something exclusive where, you had to pay like an arm and a leg for, and you had to, do this and that and everything under the sun, flip through hoops, get the governor's approval and all of these things like that. But honestly, you just had to ask. Like really, they have a link on every convention website where you could just click and you're there. Like for real, it wasn't even that complicated. When I first decided to do conventions, I did it under a few pretenses, right? Get your book in front of your audience, people who are more likely to read your book. Who's better to read a sci-fi fantasy series than people who dress up in cosplay? It was the matter of exposure and getting the book into hands of people who are going to share the story, pass it around, and become fans of the story. Because, even though I write for my own enjoyment, I don't necessarily write just for the sake of writing. I didn't put all that work into the Gem State Siege and Guardians of the Pacific just so I can read it. I have a fantasy, a real life fantasy of how where the universe is going to go in the next 10 years, because the last 10 years I've just been kind of sitting on my hands. I went online and I looked at a lot of information about how to get into conventions and how to set up tables for conventions. And for the most part, like, every author is different, and every genre is different. Every convention is different. So obviously you're not going to put the same type of effort into every convention and every space. I was looking at things and I was trying to find everybody's table and pictures of tables and pictures of conventions, and do all this research about what kind of convention I should go to, how many books I should take, and all these other things like that. Just a bunch of convoluted information that I didn't really need, because like I said, the goal was to get the book in front of people who would most likely read it. Convention was coming up in the area. I'm about 2 hours away from where we live, and Alyssa and I were just like, all right, cool. We're going. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's like 2 months. It's like maybe a month and a half out. Whatever we got to pay for to get in, we're just going to go ahead and get in. We got a book 2 coming out in 2 months from now, so let's go ahead and do it. I was sitting on my hands a lot, like with the information, just trying to figure out like the best way to do it, the perfect way to do it, quote unquote. I realized that the perfect scenario didn't exist. And I've always been saying this, the perfect scenario doesn't exist. I had to spray some Raid on the procrastination bug and get out and actually do it. And I did it. What I ended up doing was we went to GalaxyCon. I just went on the website. I clicked on the link that said exhibitors, and, Artist Alley, what are you selling? A book. Paid the money and I got in. That easy, right? Up until the point where I was, on the way down, I was showing a brave face, but in reality, I was very much afraid of the outcome. Something that I had to come to grips with, and you hear people say this all the time: if you're going for the good, then prepare for the bad. That's not being cynical about anything, that's being realistic. We went down there with 50 books, and we drove down to Raleigh, North Carolina, to GalaxyCon, to the Raleigh Convention Center, and we went to set up a table. And on the way there, I told my girlfriend that, look, we're going here to sell these books. We may not sell any, but we might sell all of them. Like, for real, like it's a risk that you had to take, right? But the exposure is one of those things that you can't put a price tag on. Now, we went there, and my goal was to, if I couldn't sell the book, then I figure out why I couldn't sell the book, network with people who were around and things like that. We ended up networking with a lot of cool people. I ended up meeting a lot of authors who were doing the same thing I was doing, who came from the same humble beginnings, and we all like kind of meshed together and kind of talked. And there were a few artists who we connected with who we just kind of clicked with like immediately as soon as we got there. But it was the atmosphere was a lot different behind the table at a convention than it was in front of. If you ever been to a convention, you know that it's all lackadaisical fun, I guess you could say. But it was really intentional fun when we were standing there and actually standing in that convention center with the purpose. You clicked on this video to figure out how to get a convention, how to get into a convention and get your books to a convention. And it's as simple as just apply to do so. The biggest hiccup that you will have, and this was the biggest hiccup that I had, was the finance part. Like financially, going into a convention, you're thinking that, okay, the table is $300 mostly. It's mostly $300. I think the most that we paid so far was $350. But the thing is that you have to be confident in what you're doing. You have to be confident in the product that you're selling. Now, if you're an author like me, you wrote the book. You spent time on the book, you spent money on the book, you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into your book. So take pride in your book. And when you take pride in your book, take pride in your story, take ownership of that and treat it like it's a legitimate business. And one of the biggest transitions that I had to make when we decided that we were going to do conventions, I made a statement to myself that I had to treat this like my job would treat business. The company that I work for, they would treat their situations as a business. And if I'm not treating mine as a business, then it's not going to be fruitful for me. So we went in with a very business-like mentality. Now, me as a writer, I understand completely where you say that, all I want to do is write. I'm more comfortable writing. I'm introverted. I can't do that. I can't stand in front of people. Like, yeah, I get that. I understand it. And I know exactly where you're coming from because I myself am very introverted, though it may not come off on camera. But, introverts versus extroverts isn't how you interact with people. It's how you recharge after the interaction and how you view going into that interaction. So I get very drained being in front of people just like any other introvert. And I know how to recharge because I know my own brain and I know my own neurology, I guess you could say. It is a shift of mindset when you say, okay, you look at it and say, that's a lot of money. The money that you're paying is nowhere near worth the value that you will take away from actually getting out there and putting in the necessary work to put your brand forward. Now, if I leave you with anything else on this video, I would like to leave you with that. We didn't even feel the money. I'm just being real, being honest. Like, we bought marketing materials, we bought the table to go in, and we ended up paying upwards of about $1,500 going into our first convention. But what we took away from that was way more than the $1,500. Like, I would pay it again. In fact, we're going to 3 more conventions before the year is out. With that being said, I hope this video helped you guys out. And I hope that, with the words that I've said today, you guys will actually make the decision to put your book in front of as many people as you possibly can and take pride in what you're doing as authors, writers, artists, and anybody who's watching this. Because this isn't just about authors going into conventions. This is about anybody because, it's the same process for everyone. And though we're selling different things, the community is one and the same. Get out there, put yourself forward, don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, just understand that you're going to feel that pressure. You're going to feel that fear. You're going to feel it. I felt it up until the very last moment that I sold the very last book that we took. So you guys will be okay. All you had to do is just go out and do the things that you say you want to do. And don't hide behind the fear. Don't hide behind the negative emotions, because your feelings can only take you but so far, but your principles can take you to the stars. So you guys can read my blog on GalaxyCon and my experience and on my website, ajmcmullen.com. And you guys can catch us on social media. All of my social media links will be in the description below, as well as on the website itself. Be sure to catch the Guardian of the Pacific releasing on September 4th. Get your pre-orders right now at ajmcmullen.com. And if you're interested in the promo code for 50% off of Guardian of the Pacific, you have to read book 1, The Gem State Siege of the World's End series. So with that being said, guys, hope this video was value to you. Make sure to click that like button and the thumbs up and all those other good fun things. Subscribe to the channel because, you know, we got other content coming soon, and do all that good stuff. My name is AJ McMullen. Guys, I will catch you on the next one.